Well, the Dragon King unveiled its Kickstarter just the other day, and also released a trailer for the new show. Well, a sort of trailer. Much more of a teaser, really. Now, as those who follow the channel might be aware, I was a pretty big fan of the Dragon Prince from the early days. I just thought it was such a breath of fresh air and got me well and truly invested in the world, story, and characters. Then we hit the mysteries of Erebos Saga, and my goodwill very rapidly evaporated after a season that seemingly operated under the premise of, what if the Dragon Prince actually sucked? Of course, over the saga, that show managed to claw its way back, and the penultimate season was probably my favourite of the entire run. It was just so good in pretty much every respect, with excellent episodes, character arcs, and twists and turns. The reveal of Erebos' daughter and the other Star Elves executing her was so well done, and added a lot of ambiguity to Erebos' character. It made him seem so much more interesting than he was before. I loved it, and whilst I was a little bit anxious about the fact that there was only one more season left, I was still confident they could wrap things up. Until I wasn't, because they kept adding more and more and extending things out each episode, to the point that it became clear that they weren't finishing anything, and they were keeping things extremely open-ended, presumably in the hopes of a renewal. Of course they were trying to get renewed by Netflix, who are notoriously trigger-happy with the cancellation button. I was happy we even got 7 seasons to begin with. What is this? Now, obviously, I didn't take it well, and neither did a whole host of other people. I won't dive into it too much here because I already have a video on that, but suffice to say, it didn't feel great. However, we had hope in the distance. There was news that Dragon Prince would be having a panel at Comic-Con to address the future of the franchise, and this got me hyped as all hell. I figured they must have gotten a deal with a different service to produce more seasons of the show, or make a sequel series or something, and instead the reveal was that they want to produce a sequel series, but they need our help to do it. So they announced a Kickstarter that would hopefully build some hype and get their foot in the door. Once again, I was not a fan of this, as it seemed to be begging for money for your fans after you ran out your deal with your original distributor and refused to finish your show properly. If they'd given us a proper definitive ending, I would have been like, okay, fair enough, Kickstarter. But they didn't, and so I was pretty harsh on them, which I think is rather rare for me. Usually I try to see both sides as much as I can when it comes to this sort of thing, and give people the benefit of the doubt, but this was too much, even for me. I considered it ridiculous. Not everybody did though, and I did get some pushback on that video. However, beyond that, there was nothing much else to say. They had some time to let people stew on it before they released their proper Kickstarter, and then here we are. Now that the Kickstarter's out, I presume I'm going to have a lot of comments along these lines. Smarty pants! More like stupid pants, because they just reached their goal. And this actually makes me smile though. I don't mind being the butt of the joke, and I do enjoy the franchise, so to see it continue on could be great. So I went over and I took a look and I saw, oh, wow, they made $595,000 of a goal of $250,000. That's just as of writing this as well. It's probably jumped up quite a bit since then. So that's not too shabby, right? Although that being said, I am a little worried that people think that this means the show is 100% getting made. I think I should stress that just because they hit this goal, it doesn't mean the Dragon King's actually going to end up coming to your screen. This could all be for nothing. I found this quote on the Kickstarter page. We're going to build cool stuff with you in the Dragon King universe, but it's all part of a master plan to get this rolling in a big way. This Kickstarter is structured to create a path to the Dragon King. Each goal and stretch goal builds something new and awesome for fans and backers to enjoy, but also gets us a step closer to realizing the ultimate dream, a full animated series for the Dragon King. The path forward progresses both in terms of production build-out and demonstrating proof of concept. The goals and steps along the path allow us to finalize characters, concepts, set pieces, story building, essential parts of pre-production that get everything ready to produce a full series. Additionally, these stretch goals will deliver awesome pieces that demonstrate to partners in Hollywood how incredible the Dragon King will be. Everything we make will show the epic creative possibilities, and every dollar and every backer will prove the enthusiasm and energy of this new fandom, the Dragon King community. So to me, this very clearly means that all the money is not really being invested into making the show per se, but it's more being used to assemble a proof of concept. To make a bunch of different promotional materials that the fans can enjoy, but that can be used to show executives that they have a solid idea here. Plus, the flow of money into the project by fans can also show there's a potentially large and lucrative fan base that could be drawn to your platform to watch the show. However, I need to stress that once again, just because they hit their Kickstarter goal, which I will say was much lower than I was expecting, doesn't mean the show is going to be fully made. Don't ever get your hopes up about this sort of thing. My sad ass is still waiting for The Wolf Among Us 2. Anyway, I took a look at some of the pledge goals and I thought we could go through them now. The first goal and the main one of the Kickstarter was to try to get $250,000. This would get a teaser of Callum and Rayla. Now, according to the blurb, they've already started working on it, it's just the money will help with the process. So I will be fair and I'll say that they aren't just milking us completely. They are actually working hard on stuff, so I was probably a little too harsh in my video on the topic, but hey, I had to work with what we knew at the time, and it did seem a little bit pathetic. Specifically, this money is apparently funding, in their own words, an animated teaser with a first look at Callum and Rayla in The Dragon King. Featuring all new designs and animation, we catch up with our heroes after 7 years and 19 days have passed. They also have a silhouette of what is likely some concept art of their designs, and Rayla looks fine, but yeah, the silhouette of Callum, that ain't it. Hopefully they change that because it looks dodgy as hell. Seriously, what's up with that weird ponytail thing? Yikes.
Yeah, I just want to let you know, the back of your head is ridiculous.
I reckon just keep his hair short, to tell you the truth. Okay, so I'm going to keep all of that in there because after I wrote it, they actually revealed their little teaser. Hell yeah, they're actually delivering the goods. We have Rayla, Callum, their little daughter. It's just a cute little scene. Rayla's design's really good, the baby looks really cute, Sarai's its name, which is nice, but Callum, no, this is a bad design. His beard looks very silly, his hair looks very silly. Thanks. I hate it. They gotta redesign him for the future. Here he's looking as if he's 40, but he's meant to be in his 20s. Also, from a story point of view, imagine having your kid quite literally on the day that Erebos is going to return to the world and things are going to heat up again. It just feels very unlucky, doesn't it? However, that's just the main goal of this Kickstarter. There's actually more that they're hoping to achieve with some of the stretch goals up to $1 million. At the $400,000 mark, which they've also managed to achieve as of writing this, is yet another teaser. This time it's for a character called the Silver Queen. In their words, it's an additional fully animated teaser set in another part of Xadia and featuring Erebos and another core character. More insights will lead to more questions as to what's happening in the world of the Dragon King. So that's another one that's 100% on the way because they've managed to get that funding. I'm actually really curious as to what this one will be, to tell you the truth, mostly because it's going to involve a new character who's probably being set up as some sort of villain. They're also well on the way to a third stretch goal of $650,000, and scratch that, they actually managed to get to this one as well. Hell yeah, they're making some great progress, hey! This is a 2-for-1 special, it seems. First, we have a brand new canon story in the form of an original graphic novel set during the years between the end of Book 7 and then the beginning of The Dragon King. So a lot of time to work with, although I can't help but feel apprehensive about this one. After all, didn't they have a novelization in the gap between the first couple of seasons and then The Mystery of Erebos, where they made some pretty lame story decisions? Namely that they'd be breaking up Callum and Rayla off screen and resetting their status quo? It's not exactly inspiring a whole lot of confidence in me for the time being. The second part of that goal, though, is a bit better. An original animated short that follows Barrius, the Minister for Crusts and Jellies, against his grumpy and mischievous arch-nemeses, Bait and Stella. It's supposed to be something along the lines of Tales of Ba Sing Se from Avatar The Last Airbender, which I'll admit is probably one of the best episodes of that show by far. This isn't probably the character I would focus on, but I'm still eager to see what they produce should they get to that level of investment. This brings us to the final stretch goal, which is $1 million. This one aims to introduce the character of Luna, Devorans? They might have said it. Who knows? Either way, dude smells like a villain based on his wiki page. Probably being set up as a foe for Zim to go up against. After all, it's called Dragon King, right? It's probably time to give him a bit more of an active role in the story. So it's going to be a character exploration, bringing a monologue to life as a fully animated set piece. So that's pretty exciting. On top of that, there's a character-specific tale for the tabletop RPG, and then also a live play one-shot session featuring the cast, I guess, playing Tales of Xadia. So, yeah, that's interesting. I like that the obvious, more important things that people are going to care about within the earlier pledge levels, you know, because that's the stuff they actually need 100% to try to get distributors on board. That being said, though, I think they are going to hit all of these goals in the next couple of days to weeks. It does seem to be doing quite well. They then said that their next intention is to share a new set of goals if they manage to hit that $1 million mark. And like I said, they are a whiles away from that big $1 million as of writing this, but I'm fairly sure they'll hit it soon. I'm not much sure how further they could push it beyond that, but I think they will manage their initial goals. As for whether this convinces any distributors to pick up the show, I don't know. I felt like they really do need to build up some momentum for that to happen, because it feels like the hype faded a bit at the end there at Netflix. That being said, who could pick it up? What companies are we thinking of? Judging by how much money they're needing to produce just small snippets of content, it seems the budget's going to be fairly high. And fair enough, I'm not having a crack at them or anything like that, it's just how these things go. I have seen some speculation they might have a chance on Prime Video, but as I said, that's just speculation, it's nothing concrete. I do want them to succeed, and I want this show to be made, but I don't think we can really know much more about whether it's going to make it until we see more content, right? Until we see some of the stuff from Kickstarter actually brought to life. That being said, we did get a little bit more information, I think. They had this blurb with the Kickstarter, and granted, they might have already released this information before, but we'll go over it again anyway. It reads, on the cusp of vanishing into legend, the last of the Archdragons, the young dragon King Zim, wields his great power to forge a fragile peace in Xadia. But when a forsaken and forgotten dragon prince returns from the shadows of exile, Zim uncovers a truth long buried. The throne he inherited may not have been his to claim, and the true heir has come to take it back. Pretty interesting premise, and I have some questions. What is an archdragon? I just thought it meant a very old, wise, and powerful dragon, and if the dragon lived long enough, they could become one. Is that not what they are? Are they actually just a special species of really big, intelligent dragon, as opposed to lesser dragons? Is there no crossover here? Kind of a strange distinction to make, but alright. Okay, so the Dragon Prince guy, he's totally going to be Luna Devorens, right? He's obviously going to be a collaborator with Erebos. I mean, I guess they could make him an isolated villainous character of his own faction, akin to the Fire Dragon King, may he rest in piss, but I kind of think they'd want him to link up with Erebos. Either that or he's going to be the next big planned antagonist. That they intend to have Erebos play the Viren role in the story, the initial villain who eventually gets phased out in favour of somebody new. That being said though, Erebos has been built up for so many seasons. I kind of think he has to be the main villain of the franchise the whole way through, right? Nobody else has that same build and story connection, except for Claudia, but based on her ending in the final season of Dragon Prince, she and Erebos are ride or die together, so they're wrapped up in one package. I suppose we'll just have to wait and see how all of that goes. Also, I'm guessing that this new Dragon Prince dude waiting in the shadows, he totally murdered the Moon Dragon Queen, right? I feel that thematically it makes sense since her death is mysterious, and according to the wiki, she deemed this dude unsuitable as heir. He has motive at the very least, and he's framed as an antagonist by all these supplementary materials. I also kind of wonder how this Dragon King thing even works. Who's rightful, really? The Fire Dragon guy was the Dragon King at some point, and he went blind and his mate died, and so he was considered no longer viable. The Moon Dragon took over and she died and seemingly disinherited this guy, which led the Storm Dragons to take the throne, I guess by consensus of the other Archdragons. They were seemingly acknowledged by everybody as the ruling family at the very least. When Zim's dad died, the mum seemingly took over, and now she's dead and so it falls to Zim. So what rightful claim? Nah, this dude needs to hit the bricks. He's a couple of 100 years too late on this score, and it's also noteworthy that he's only pulling this shit now since all the big hitter Archdragons are dead and gone. It's just the young king left, so he's cringe for this, and I'm excited to see his head get kicked in by Zim at some point. Although imagine if after all of this his character was revealed to be a hero instead. That would be kind of funny. Then the last thing, we got a little trailer. Just adult Zim and Ezran flying. And it looks good, like, holy shit, Ezran looking real good here. Watch Ezran have the mother of all glow-ups and then Callum look terrible with his beard and ponytail. Ugh, say it ain't so! Also that dragon, the Zuko voice is not going to work for that big fella. But that's a bridge to cross when we come to it. With all that being said though, these have been my opinions and now I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of the Dragon Prince's Kickstarter's progress? Are you hyped up by how it's going? Do you think they're going to hit their goals? Do you think the show's even going to be made? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.